Hey guys, we're here on Multi-Hyphenate today. I'm your host, Sean Crampton with the Rebel. Oh, sorry, I had to fix my video there. I'm your host, Sean Crampton. Today, oh man, Kenton, I've known you like 10 years and I can't even fathom all of the growth and things you've done to earn this, not that you were trying, but Multi-Hyphenate title from producer, writer, musician, instrumentalist, vocalist, songwriter, actor, if I didn't say that already, incredible actor, like one of the most naturally gifted actors I know. Welcome and thank you for being on the show.
Wow, thank you. I hope I can live up to that introduction.
Yeah, dude. Everybody gets a WWF style loving introduction, and that was yours.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here, bro. I love you so much. We really have known each other a long time.
Since 2013.
Wow, 10 years. That's
10 years.
The numbers that was going in my head.
Yeah.
When we started working at yummy.com.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with yummy.org.
Oh my God.
It's so stupid. But dude, that job, I mean, I'm grateful because I know LA really well now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, for those who don't know, it was like the first in-home delivery grocery service. So like what Instacart does, it did before there were apps. You'd call.
Yeah.
And fee would be like to Sierra Barton or whatever, right?
Yeah. I'm so like because I'm from Pennsylvania and I grew up in this like tiny little town and like I was just like a white suburb rural guy, and so like when they were like, all right, they put the receipts on the bag with the street name, and I was like, hey, I'm still trying to figure out the area. Where's La Jolla Street? And they were like, oh, that's La Jolla.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, that's good. That's good, dude. Yeah, speaking of Pennsylvania, I love that we went there. I'm going to even peel it a step further back. I've noticed everybody has maybe a little bit of a story around their name. So before we get to where you're from, let's talk about your name. Is this a stage name? Did you ever consider a stage name? Because we've had people be like, well, I had to change my last name because, or what, to join SAG, somebody literally had my name, so I had to use this other name. So I just wanted to check in and see if you had any name stuff.
No, this is my legal name that I was born with. Yeah.
It's not Felipe?
Nope. Surprisingly. But oh my God, so I'm pretty sure I was named after like an electrician or plumber that lived in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Because my mom, before I was born, was like looking through the phone book and she saw the name Kenton. And she was like, what a cool name.
It is a rad name.
So she fucking names me that after some guy. And then like fast forward to like 4 or 5 years, like 4 years or whatever. I'm like a 4-year-old and I'm like running and hiding from my mom in like clothes racks and like shopping centers. And my mom is screaming my name and this woman comes up to her and she's like, what'd you say? And my mom's like, Kenton, like my son, he's hiding from me. Oh, she's like, that's my husband's name. And my mom's like, is he like an electrician or whatever? And she was like, yeah. And my mom's like, I named my son after your husband.
Oh my God. I'm so glad I asked this question because I never knew that.
Yeah, it's so wild. Yeah. So
oh, dude, that's a trip, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not named after a saint or a musician.
My dad or a grandfather.
Yeah. The electrician from Doylestown.
He's just probably ripping cigs and drinking coffee in Pennsylvania right now.
He's definitely not with us still, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro. And so you're from Pennsylvania, and the reason I like to find out where people, can you describe where you're from and then sort of talk about your relationship to the town you grew up in versus what you feel now? Because I feel like people's,
Sure.
obviously their relationships change to their hometown.
Yeah, of course. It's an awesome question. So where I grew up was like, it was an hour northwest of Philadelphia, and it was like suburb, like cute little town. And it was kind of like a mixture of like rural and suburb, and it was very split. Like there was a lot of like very much an East Coast mentality, like people who grew up in New York or Philly, and they were like, I want to move out and raise kids and away from the city. So it's like you definitely had that kind of mentality there, but there was also like it was very like country in a lot of ways. And yeah, it was just like a really nice little cute community. And yeah, and I still carry that in my heart. Like I still like I long, like my soul craves that. Like where I live now in Orange County, when I was living in LA, I was like, I just need kind of like a small town vibe, and the area where I live now like gives me that. And
I'm so glad. You've always, as long as I've known you, been very comfortable. And I really mean this in such a positive way, like being barefoot or just like in nature.
yeah,
Like I've always admired that and noticed that about you. So that makes sense.
yeah, it's I don't know, nurture or nature, whatever, but I definitely need it. And but I've definitely romanticized like moving back there or to a place like that, but um I really like where I am. And as far as like ways of me growing out of that, like where I'm from, like uh that's a good question. I don't know. I guess I like being around so much creativity and people like you and like your community, like actors, musicians, and that are just creating and going for it full time. Where back home, there's definitely a lot of artists, but it's not so much like the forefront of like a main industry. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever been to Nashville?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I went out there with Armor for Sleep.
Oh, that's right.
Ben.
You guys went
Yeah.
there. Was that your first experience there?
My first experience there, and it was really cool. It's a really cool town. I remember when we first got there, my band, like we rented those scooters and we just like went all around, and it's such a cool vibe.
Yeah, I went there recently for the first time. Yeah.
That's right. What did you think of it?
I I got a buckshot view. I literally was like Broadway for a second, like, just trying to see things. I saw some live music, which was, of course, amazing. But what I did notice, and the reason I brought it up, is in the morning, I went to just a local coffee shop and I was like 10 minutes outside of downtown or whatever. And there were people writing and playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that guy's like 40. That guy's like 50. That woman's like 30. Whoa, these aren't like students. And so I just noticed it was like an artist friendly town. So it made me think of what you're saying.
Yeah, places like that just light me up. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Now,
like
Austin's kind of like that in a way.
Totally.
With the music vibe. Like that was such a good show you guys did when we came out for that.
I'm still shocked that you were there. Like I couldn't believe it when I walked out.
It was a surprise, right?
You guys surprised me. I heard your voices, and we were like walking out on stage, and I'm just like in my zone, like ready to like go, and I'm like, oh, that's Sean's voice. Oh, that's Sean's voice. I was like, oh my god. And, that was you, Jesse, and Kyle.
Amazing. Yeah.
So
oh my
fun.
God. That was like 2021.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So we're still in Pennsylvania, and the question I love to kind of kick around, is how did you find art? Like, how did art find you out there?
I mean, my family always had music on in the house, and they love music. My parents, and so my earliest memories that I cognitively have are like me dressing up as like Michael Jackson, like dancing on my fireplace, like mantle, and yeah, it like that was it. And yeah, and then I would just there was a kid up the street from me who started playing guitar, and I started playing guitar, and he would show me all these bands that I'd never heard of. He was like, he just had the inside scoop on everything. He was like, he's like,
I
check
know
out
exactly
this, like,
who that kid is.
yeah, he was just like, oh, check out this crusty punk band from like wherever, and I'm like, oh my god, like what? And
I
yeah,
love that
and then,
crusty punk band. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, I know exactly what that means.
Oh, totally. Yeah, they're just like using like Elmer's glue to like make the Liberty spikes.
Wow.
And they got the best, and
my buddy Danny used to do that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so and you were an athlete as well. Can you talk about maybe the transition there, or how they, what was that like? Because I know that was important in your house as well, athletics, right?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I started doing sports. I started doing organized sports first before I started taking like music lessons, like probably like a couple of years before. And yeah, sports was everything in the house. I have an older sister who's a standout athlete, and so yeah, I mean, before people knew what like CrossFit was or like whatever, like my dad was sending my sister and I to these like professional like coaches that knew like all these different like Russian workouts of like calisthenics and like crazy medicine ball stuff when I was in like fucking 6th grade. Like just getting, yeah. So he was there, yeah, and our diet and everything. It was very,
no wonder you burnt out on that.
Very important. Yeah. And, but yeah, music was always like, my parents like encouraged it as a hobby. Like my mother was so adamant about, me learning piano first so I could understand how music works. And she was totally right. Like how to navigate like what harmonies are and scales and things like that. And so, but that was always like, yeah, you can do that when you get home from practice or, stuff like that. But yeah, sports was definitely the main thing that they were pushing for sure.
Was there like a big transition where you're like, I'm done with sports? And because I feel like, if I remember, there was a choice you made where you were kind of like, I'm fucking done with this shit. And you started like doing music like really full time, if I recall. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, well, let's see. That happened for me in 10th grade. I quit sports. I was just done. Like I was so burnt out. My sister and I grew up with our the way we'd receive love or even be spoken to would be winning and performing, and so I just had this snap and I quit sports without telling my parents.
Wow.
And they gave me
done then.
Yeah, and they gave me like the rest of the school year to like play music and stuff, and then they were like, hey, you're going back to sports or you're going to military school. Like,
whoa,
that's it. And so then I had to put music on the back burner again for the rest of high school. And then, yeah, my senior year going into, I was in wrestling, and I completely self-sabotaged my yeah, I guess it was regionals it was regionals. So like if you won that, then you go on the states, and there were some colleges looking at me. That was the goal for me to wrestle in college. It was a goal for my parents. But
I was gonna say that's a brutal goal.
Yeah, and but yeah, so I self-sabotaged that, and I also got injured, but whatever. And then I was like, I'm gonna go for music, and right when I graduated high school, and then I started pursuing music for a little bit, and then trauma responses came up, and then I ran away from it, and then
sure. And where'd you run to? Well, you went to New York before you came to LA, right? Or did you go to Philly?
Yeah. Good memory.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I try to listen, brother.
Yeah, you do. You're such a good listener, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I started pursuing acting right after I quit music then. And I went to New York. I was like, fuck this place, man. I hated New York. So then I moved home, saved up some money, and then met you at yummy.com in Hollywood, California.
So you were like fresh off the bus.
Yeah. I met you like a month or two into me hitting the ground.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. That's awesome. So dude, those first years when we'd sit on your back porch. Oh my God. Remember those mornings, man?
Oh my God.
You know,
garage pizza.
Yeah, we were just silly and unaware, and it was all good, and it was so fun. And I cherish those times, but also glad to be here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
So you were living, I mean, that was the Henrietta, but after that it was like Nick and Frankie.
Yeah.
And then you and Nick made Two Guys, One Truck, right?
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I know it's been a while, so no worries, but you made the damn thing like top to bottom, and you even had some issues with the director, if I recall.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people would be curious if whatever you're willing to share, but there's a lot of learning in that, if I recall.
Oh man, I took away huge lessons from it that I carry into my music career now, and also just business in general. That was so beneficial. So I met Nick Reinhardt. He's an incredible actor.
Yeah, he is.
He's a New York guy, so he moved out like a year before me to LA, and whatever. So we meet up, and we're like, let's create like a web series. And he was like, we should do something with like moving, like these two movers, and they get in all these crazy situations. And we're like, all right, let's call it Two Guys, One Truck. And yeah.
Dude, and your guys' timing together is so good. I mean, that's why we had you guys do it for RPJ. It was like,
oh man, thank you,
dude.
He honestly just he makes it so easy to act. He just like whatever you're doing, like whether it's improv or it's scripted, he just carries so much with ease with his performance.
Yeah, man, he's so good.
Yeah. And so, we did that. And a huge thing that I took away from a learning experience was this director, I won't name his name, but if anybody's seen the show, they know. He said, and Nick and I wrote the first episode, we created the show, and this guy found out about it, and he was like, I'd love to do like a read through with you guys. And he loved it. And he was like, hey, I would love to direct this. And I'll use like my production company. We were like, oh, right on. Cool. And then he said, but I also want to be a creator as well. Like considered a creator. And we were just like, sure. Like, that's cool. Made the whole season, yada, yada, it came out. And then we started getting interest and from some companies.
Mm-hmm.
And their whole thing was they loved Nick's and my dynamic. And
Yeah.
Nick and I would write perfectly for each other because we are each other. And this director, they didn't want to bring him on board. And we were like, hey, and he wouldn't budge. So we were like held hostage by this guy. He's like, no, I'm a creator, blah, blah, blah. And before it got to that point, he was like, let's sign a contract. So we signed this contract with him and whatever. So, yeah, the show got picked up by a company called Defy Media. And that was like really big for web series.
Yeah, they were huge, I remember. Yeah.
And then we got brought on, and it was just Nick and I. And they were like, hey, so to get out of this contract, let's come up with a different like kind of show for you guys, because it's just your dynamic that's going to sell. And so we got signed on, and then they like cleared house. So like there was like a new guy that came in and was like,
whoa,
really not that interested. The guy that signed us on to it, he left to New York. Yeah, and it just died. And
whoa.
yeah. And but yeah, I would say the things that I've learned about is figure out like how you work with other people artistically, and don't like understand, like if you wrote something, that's your thing, like plain and simple. Things just can get very messy with art and business. So I think developing trust in people is huge. And yeah.
Oh, that makes sense to me. Yeah, and that's such like a, I mean, I'm sure it's a heartbreaking in any industry, but it feels like the sort of typical Hollywood heartbreak you hear about. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
because there's like shows that just got picked up right now that because of the strike got canceled.
Yeah.
So imagine you're an actor and you're like your first show, and you like you're not dumb. No one like didn't see the strike coming. I don't think.
Yeah.
If you had any semblance of awareness, you just I don't know what you do, but that sucks, and it feels pretty common. So man, I'm sorry you went through that.
Tale as old as time, man. It's people have been stealing art, and
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And we got you and Nick to do, I would say, like a pretty similar dynamic, but like a little spicier in either direction for RPJ the pilot.
Yeah.
And what was your experience working on that? Because I had a blast working with you, but
it was so fun.
Dude,
it was so fun. Like I loved that. You also like really saw Nick and I like and how we perform, and like I love how you gave us room to kind of improv and stuff. And
absolutely.
It was just it was super light. It was just a super light, really fun shoot. I mean, every scene, even when I wasn't being shot, like every scene was completely insane. With so I was like always entertained.
Dude, I gotta give Trent Atherton,
oh my god,
formerly Atkinson, a shout out, because he really elevated that whole thing. I mean, he directed it, to be clear, but some directors don't elevate; they just do the job, right?
Yeah,
and that's okay too. But he actually elevated at every point: writing, the directing, and the edit. Like, wow.
Talk about a first. That was the first time I met Trent.
Really?
Yeah, and
he's the best.
Absolute sweetheart, and then he crushed it. Just as those list of things that he did, and I was like, oh, that's a unique person.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, man.
You know.
That was, and like Tara and oh
Yeah.
my god, Kyle.
Kyle. Kyle
Oh
was
my
the
god.
waiter.
Yeah, it was so fun. So now I want to transition a little bit into music.
Sure.
So maybe we start at your singer songwriter. Like, how did your music start in LA, and just kind of take me through it chronologically as much as you want.
Sure.
Because I would say your styles and what you put out has shifted, morphed, and wholeheartedly changed, maybe superficially, but underneath a lot of maybe the same energy and emotional intelligence that you carry is still there, even if it sounds different.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it started, I'm 36 now, and when I turned 28, that's when I really started diving into like all of my therapy and recovery with stuff. And I started just writing songs because I just needed to for my process of like healing. And I was doing that for about a year, and then I'd come up with, and this was all like acoustic singer songwriter stuff. And as time went on, I was like, you know what? I've always loved this. And, so like just inches of self acceptance I started to, get. And I was like, dude, you really want to do this? So let's go for it. So I recorded some acoustic songs with Brian Rosemeyer, who lived at Mark's place. He's a phenomenal engineer and producer now. He works at King Size Studios in Eagle Rock. But
amazing.
Yeah, recorded with him and did that. And then I also was like, man, I have so much anger. And singing these pretty heartbreak songs I'm not saying everything I need to say. And so I started writing aggressive rock songs, and then formed a band and started going out and just gigging as much as possible. And that.
What was the band called back then?
Back then it was called War on. Oh no, it was called Warren Betty.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, yeah, yeah, dude.
That's because you thought it was Warren Betty, right? Not Warren Beatty or something.
I saw Warren Beatty's name on a sign. I was like, oh, who's Warren Betty? They were like, oh, well, you can't read. And I was like, well, hey, that's a cool fucking rock band name. I'm gonna take that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so I started playing shows and recording with those guys, and then we switched our name to Silence of You. And then the pandemic hit and the world shut down. And then that was like about a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out and toured with Armor for Sleep.
Yeah.
And then we broke up, and then I started this new thing called War on Betty with Nate Navarro. He's known for drumming in the band Cobra Starship.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And we met on tour, and so we finished writing we wrote an album, finished our first music video. We're about to shoot our second, and it's just, we call it trailer park disco metal.
Trailer park disco metal. I love that.
Yeah.
Because Silence of You is like post-hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about, and that's amazing, congrats on all that. And if you guys haven't seen Kenton play live, you're out of your mind, because it's the fucking best energy. You bring it, dude. I mean, you're alive. You're alive.
It's firing at all cylinders completely.
Yeah,
Just,
I know you, so I wouldn't say I wouldn't expect it, but someone who just knows you casually probably wouldn't expect your performance on stage, right?
yeah. that's,
Yeah,
that's like always the thing. They're like, we did not imagine that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for those who can't see, like Kenton's a tall, broad-shouldered guy, and he will dance better. I mean, I remember once you took over the upstairs at the
Fuck, dude.
Federal,
Oh my
yeah, on
god.
Lakership, you were dancing,
That was
and
at
you know how
Federal?
people use, yeah, at the Federal, usually people like will like crowd around a dancer for like a minute, 2 minutes, like, oh, and someone else will come in. No, Kenton was in the center for like 45 minutes, and not annoyingly, just like he was just going for it and people were loving it.
It
And
was insane, dude. Because there's like a bunch of like dance studios around there.
yeah, I
And
know.
so some of those cats were like coming in, and I was just a drunk
Yeah,
fool.
yeah. And we're
And
all
so,
in.
yeah,
No, dude, it was fun. It was
it was
so
so
fun.
fun.
We needed it in some way,
Yeah.
obviously.
Oh my god.
So, can you talk about like the sound? Can you describe the sound of the music you make now? Maybe even like Silence of You. Like, could you articulate it to a layman? Because I want to talk about your different vocal techniques and how I learned when you taught me that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, well, with Silence of You, it was pretty much a combination of, I guess for a layman, you would say like screamo, like
Yeah.
the scene of like early 2000s. Um, but so it would be a combination of like really heavy parts, and then we go into like very pretty singing.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be very aggressive vocals and then very pretty, clean singing, as they say.
Mm.
Um, and I guess now, like with the War on Betty thing that I'm doing now, it's different in the way that so there's like a lot of blues rock riffs that are mixed with pop, and then it's also super aggressive metal, and I'm doing like a lot of the same. So it's like very hardcore screaming with uh, kind of like shouty notes and like gang
Mm.
vocals, and like there, it's not like I never sing pretty like I
Oh,
did before.
interesting.
It's all just it's like a character, but it's like
Uh,
super aggressive and in your face and just fun. Um,
what's the band? I believe in a thing called love.
oh,
It gives me that vibe because they have like shouty vocals. I feel like at
oh yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah,
But dude, that's awesome! I can't wait to hear it.
yeah. It's gonna be fun. Yeah,
And if you
we
think about it artistically, you've sort of done the pretty vocalizations like pretty thoroughly. Like you did singer songwriter, which you could almost argue is like mostly that, and then you had it in your post hardcore band. So it's cool that you're stretching yourself. It feels like.
yeah, and you know, Nate, I owe all that to Nate because he was like
Oh
he
wow!
man, that guy is like a create to me he's a creative genius, and not just with music but even with film, and scripts and things of that nature. He was
Dude,
like,
that's
hey man,
big for you to say that about somebody.
yeah, like he because like I found like my strong points in my voice. I'm like, I'm gonna lean into that, I'm gonna keep blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah. And Nate was like, hey, uh let's open up your voice more, let's do some different stuff with your voice. And I was like, all right. And so I'm trying this new stuff. Um, and he'd be like, oh, try it kind of more like this. Like, like he even taught me how to like change certain like delivery. So like, let's say like a verse, I'm screaming all the way through the verse,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's like 5 words, 5 lyrics. And he's like, I want you to sing that and scream into that and then get to a shout and then close like with like a nice note. And like he would like take me through that.
Whoa.
So it's like like yeah,
Whoa.
and I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, that's cool, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's fucking nuts. I never even like thought of that. So
Wow.
he's really opened up my voice with screaming, and also just like getting into a character. Like we find that he like we tap into different characters. So
I love
each one
that.
has a different voice, but yeah. So Nate's helping me grow a lot artistically. Yeah,
That's awesome, dude.
super cool. Yeah,
And how does your process, like, do you guys have to be in the room together? Are you bouncing things back and forth, or does it just depend on the stage you're in? Like,
we've
what's your, yeah.
we so I record from home, and he records from his home. We live an hour away from each other, and we do everything over the phone.
Amazing.
So we'll talk, and then he'll send me something that he's like written, and then I'll take it here and I'll write on it and send it back, and we keep sending it back and forth, and then yeah, and then we have a song. We wrote our whole record in like basically 6 to 8 months, never in the same room. One time he produced a whole song text messaging me. I would send him stuff, and he was like, do this, because he was mixing for this other artist. He's seriously that good. And he'd listen to it, and he'd be like, all right, now do that, do this, do that. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And then at the end of the day, I was like, dude, this song's fucking nuts. And he was like, yeah. And I didn't even talk to him on the phone.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's seriously like next level, dude.
I bet, man.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. And like, you know, with all the due respect to every artist you've played with, I feel like this feels nice to have you really be challenged.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, because it's like we will fall into our strengths, and like you get recognized for your strengths, so your ego is like, oh, there's some praise.
Yeah.
And so you do that thing, and then when someone's like, hey, like, don't do that, you're kind of like, what? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Nate was like, no, shut up and just fucking do it because it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm sort of doing that in a way with myself for acting.
Yeah.
I've been thinking lately, like, what are my strengths? Well, one of them is my emotional availability to stuff right away.
Yeah.
I can be right there right away in most any emotion. But my instinct was telling me that could run its course, and some parts certainly don't call for that. So lately I've been trying to push myself to look for the opportunities to play the notes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's been a fun challenge to challenge myself that way.
That's amazing, dude.
Thanks, bro. It feels weird. Like I feel like maybe not weird, but alone sometimes. Like I'm the only. Not that I'm the only one who challenges myself. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I feel like I'm the only one I know running these weird. Like last year for my writing, for example, I only worked on characters because I felt like I needed a big improvement on that. And it was really fucking hard. And my ego kicked up. It's like, why don't you just do this? It's easier. And I still did like writing, but I read all these books. I was just like task oriented towards it. Yeah. And at the end of the year, it clicked. And it was like 11 months of just being in this, like, what am I doing to myself? Almost like a workout at the gym. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But getting better. So it's important to have that, I believe.
100%. Because you just don't know. Like, you don't know if you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you could have like things inside of you artistically that you just haven't gone to. And like those could be the things that like even define who you are, even with your career even more. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I know.
So
It's been a trip. Um, I've been like getting obsessed with animation,
yeah.
and like the last
Yeah.
5 days, like I literally started doing it Friday, like not long, right?
Wow.
And so I'm just like, it's been a lot of hours of tutorials, you know. But what's been cool is what's been amazing is that it's all lining up. All of my filmmaking and editing, literal like technical know-how, like what do you use, Pro Tools or Logic?
I use Logic. Yeah.
So if you opened up another app that had similar abilities and features like Logic, you'd be like, oh shit, I'm in business. And
Right.
so that's what happened here. And Kyle and I were talking about this earlier, but I felt like traditionally, if you wanted to be an animator, you probably weren't going to have the same brain pathways as a storyteller. And so, like, because I always was like, man, if I could animate my own stuff, I'd be fucking doing it all the time. But you don't really see that out in the world, right? Like, these
Yeah.
animators aren't just like, I got to animate forever. So I just feel like now that's converging where storytellers are able to animate as well. And also just trying shit out. Like I don't know why it feels like I've been excited to wake up the last few days, and I'm only bringing this up because you were sort of alluding to like you don't know what the thing's gonna be that's gonna unlock you,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
feel just very unlocked right now, and it's I never would have guessed,
That's
you
so
know.
cool.
And it's like, you know, with our spiritual work, we talk about, I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, like, it's already here.
Yeah.
Like, it's here. And it's funny, this program's been on my computer for fucking 2 years. So it literally has been here, you know? And so I was just like thinking about the literalness of that statement in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's literally right there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's so rad that you're doing that. And just those like just those little clips you've already shown me, like the stuff
Yeah.
that it was put on Instagram too. I'm like, it looks like you've already been doing this for years.
Ah, thanks, man. I
Like,
appreciate it. We're
yeah,
just like what we're gonna do, and like, so if you ever want to participate, it's just improv. So I build the scene like static, and then we look at it and we kind of are like, oh, they're wearing this or they're standing here. Okay,
yeah,
okay, and then we use that as suggestions without talking, and then those are all everything we've sent has been the first take because we're just like, we could make it better, but then we're writing it. So just
yeah.
as we practice, let's just do this.
Love that.
Yeah,
Love that.
it's been weird as shit.
Yeah.
So back to music. What's the so you have an album forthcoming?
Yeah, it's we don't have a release date yet. We're still packaging like around like a whole plan behind it, right? So it's
Oh, cool.
yeah,
So
we're
all right, right
yeah,
on.
it's because in the past, I think with Silence of You and just even when I started doing like my acoustic stuff, I was like, oh, I just the go-to thing is like, oh, just put something out there,
Hmm.
get things, the algorithms, and just you know, where with this, I, I'm like, if we do self-release this, I want everything to be ready to go. So there's no gaps like, okay, each week we do this or each month, whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, but we're taking our time with a lot of stuff, and we're
Fuck yeah.
it
Good
just
for you.
like I just want it to be um the best it can be, rather than having this. We've spoken about this before. It's like there's like this anxiety voice in your head who's like, no one's gonna no one's
Hmm.
gonna know about you. You gotta do this and that. Like you gotta, and it's like nobody in the world is like, when is that War on Betty album coming out? Man, my kids can wait to eat. Like,
Yeah,
no,
I
it's
know what you
like
mean.
people take so long making books, You know, it's like I want to make this album the best it can be. So, yeah,
dude, you know what? You helped me like just click in. So, what the irony of all this is what the top 1% of filmmakers and I bet musicians, I might even say 0.01%. It's really rarefied air. You know what they get? Time.
yeah.
And what do we have for free right now? Time. But we're rushing to be crunched by time because everybody in the middle gets crunched. If you're a day player as a director, you got to make the day.
Yeah.
You know, you got to make those time crunches. And so it's really interesting that we're already luxurious in the thing we would be fighting for if we were ultra top tier, which is time. And you just helped me realize that. So,
no, that was beautifully said.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah,
appreciate it. That's what I do here. I just read quotes from other people that they just pop up. I just read them off the screen, man. Every word I've said is scripted.
You're pulling it off.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay.
So what else? Like, tell me more about.
Dude, can I share a story with you? Kyle and I we went to Tiki No, which is the rum bar in North Hollywood. I don't know if you ever came. I think you did like once, but he like points out across the street where the Ha Ha Cafe is, and we've had a few drinks, so we're like feeling good. It's all a positive thing.
Sure.
But it was just funny. And it was Crystalia, who's one of my favorite comics. And I'm like, whoa, like, what are the chances he's playing in Hollywood or North Hollywood tonight? And Kyle's like, the universe, you know? And it was beautiful because it was just like this perfect day. And we go over there and we get front row tickets, which aren't that much. It's like $20 a ticket, right? Mm-hmm. And we get front row. And I'm sitting there and we've come from the beach.
Yeah.
And I'm in shorts and like a Hawaiian shirt. And so we watched the show and everybody's great. There was this one guy who was like a whistler. Like literally that was his bit. And it was so fucking funny. Like lots of funny people. And there was also this son and mother couple who were, imagine, stiff as a board. Like they didn't know what they're getting to, but they never left. And they were genuinely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then Crystalia gets on stage and immediately starts roasting me. I mean, just to timbers, dude. Because I forgot that he hates when people sit. And he was so right. I was crying, like fucking anime tears, crying because he was so right. He was like, this guy's in fucking shorts. It looks like he walked by and was like, oh, a comedy show, and came in. Like, no planning. The disrespect, you know, and he's shredding my shirt, calling me Ace Ventura.
Oh, my God.
It fucking got me. And that's why you sit front row, people, so you can get shredded by the comedians. But I thought you might enjoy that because I was like fucking dying after that or during that.
That's amazing.
So, what's your day to day like with your your music right now? Like, are you just sort of game planning? Is there music still being made? Like, are you in a finishing process? Like, tell me everything.
Yeah. So the songs are done. They're all recorded. So now it's like.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm sure every album's different, but did you like intentionally be like, we're gonna finish it song by song, meaning mastered next, or did you kind of go through and write a story of 10 songs where they all kind of fit? Like, do you know what I mean before you finish them, or are there songs that didn't make the cut?
No, we just kind of were like, whatever song came up, we just worked on it.
Cool.
But it's not as like
very organic.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I think any way to skin the cat. I was just curious about the process, really.
Totally. Yeah, it would just be like, hey, here's this idea. All right, let's run with this. But we would talk like over the phone, like we're like, oh, let's like bring in elements to, I want to do something like this in a song, or I want to do something like that in a song, and let's do something that's not being done. Because a big thing right now is like, as a music fan, I'm hearing in the metal world everybody trying to sound exactly like Bring Me the Horizon. And I'm like, okay, that's already been done. Like, not saying these bands are bad. They're all really good at sounding like each other. And, yeah, so we're constant, like, we would talk on the phone and we're like, let's throw in things that are not typical.
I love it.
Yeah. And so we'd be conscious of that when we'd be working on the songs.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, but the songs are done. We still got to get them mixed and mastered. And we are also, one of the music videos just got done. And now we're doing all the prep for going into our second music video now. So, which it looks like we're going to be shooting that in the beginning of August, I think.
Cool.
And then, so like my day-to-day right now for that is getting that music video ready. Nate and I are working on some other music for like sync and licensing.
Cool.
And other than that, I've been really focusing just on my fitness and physical health, like, weightlifting, getting back into like doing like shadow wrestling, doing my old like wrestling drills. Like, I love it.
Great.
It's so fun.
I was gonna say your traps, dude. Look like you're fucking.
Oh yeah, well I've been
steel, bro.
I've been going for it, and it's really
good for
great.
you. You deserve it.
Thank you. Yeah. What else? And Nick from Two Guys One Truck.
That's so crazy.
We just opened up a shared note thing in our phones. And we're coming up with a new thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that makes me really happy.
Yeah, so I'm at a point in my life now where I'm trying to remove everything that's not me. Right? So the false stories I tell myself about me, that fear, anything that, all that stuff, getting rid of like the weight that I've accumulated over the years. Like, that's not me. So
good for you.
I'm just really doing all of it. So I'm like, yeah, I want to act. I really like acting with Nick. Cool. Let's start writing. Working with Nate with the War on Betty stuff, doing music videos. I'm just doing everything that I really like, and I don't equate my self-worth into it, like, dude, I swear to God. So a big thing, especially with sports for me, was I didn't want to look weak, because like looking weak in sports, like if I couldn't do like X amount of reps, like I just wouldn't even do them. And so it's been years since I've been like really been like weightlifting and stuff. And so I'm much weaker now. And so now I'm like, I gotta get over this mentality of being afraid of looking bad in front of people. So some fucking hunk will bust out like 20 pull-ups in front of me. And as soon as he gets down, I just like get up and I do like 4 shitty pull-ups. So he sees me doing badly. And nothing bad happens to me. And that's like really helped me release a lot of like, performance anxiety of just life, right? So like doing poorly in front of other people is like giving me confidence. So yeah, it's insane
Dude,
because
that's
I would have never
amazing.
done that when I was younger.
No,
Yeah,
I I I feel like I'm in that same boat, and I think Kyle's coming in as well. It's like we're less afraid to be bad at things
yeah,
and be seen being bad at them, especially.
hmm
You know, it's like who fucking cares?
yeah,
But it was what we had to do to survive was to be the best at everything.
yeah,
And then I realized recently, like, the reason I couldn't trust anything is because I'd be the best at any given thing that I was the best at,
hmm
and it still wouldn't be enough. So it'd be
right,
like, and the yin to that yang was like, I was like reflecting back. My parents called lazy as a word I got used around me
mm,
about me,
yeah,
and I'm like, not one of my friends would call me lazy, and it's just fascinating because I break it down. It's like, was I lazy? Let me look. Let me look. It doesn't
yeah,
hurt me to look anymore. Where I used to beat the shit out of myself, I'm just looking now, and I'm like, no. What happened was I would do my full effort, and it wasn't good enough. So the clever part of me went, then I'm just not going to do it right the first time if I'm guaranteed going to have to do it the second time.
yeah,
Because 100%, my dad wasn't going to make me do it 3 times.
yeah,
And I do that. And so it's just like interesting to sort of break that story apart and then let it go, you know? And it's not me blaming my parents, right? Like that was, and best they could do, the times, culture,
exactly.
all of that shit. But it's just my perception of it. So,
hmm
yeah, it was really helpful because it's funny. Because people will tell me literally to my face, "You're the hardest working person I know." That's so subjective, but people do say that to me, and I could never accept it. I could never accept it, and I realized that was the reason why, in some regard.
Yeah, I noticed that that was tied in with like you like receiving compliments too,
Hmm.
like that. Like if I remember correctly, it was like don't don't celebrate a win too much or something. Like it's kind of
At
like
all, at
yeah,
all.
or like yeah,
Now that I think about it, I didn't. We didn't get a lot of compliments
right,
that were about us.
yeah,
It was more like the grades or the sports accolades or
yeah,
the presentational items, your weight. And
mm.
yeah, I wonder, I wonder what went wrong. Uh, God love him. God love him. But
yeah,
no, dude, I'm so fucking grateful for my life and thankful, and I'm so proud of myself and my family and you and like this crazy journey of life. It's pretty wild.
same dude.
Like,
It's dude, we get to wake up
I
like
know.
like a lifelong pattern that's always been like I'll wake up and I'm like there's dread, there's
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and I'm like Jesus Christ, dude,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
keep getting second chances. How cool,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah. Dude, I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you. I'm curious. I have deep curiosity about the workings of after this existence and
yeah,
what's it all about, you know? It's interesting. I was thinking about the concept of heaven and hell as it pertains to um, souls today, and
mm-hmm.
I wonder if hell is a new soul Because really, if we went to another dimension, the reason it would be a hell is because our senses couldn't perceive it correctly, therefore fucking us about.
Yeah.
And that's why. Nope, sorry, I almost dropped something. And that's why it's such a hell. And then as the soul grows, which might be purgatory at some points, going through all the lives, a tree, an ant, it gets to heaven, which is an enlightened soul. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of how I was seeing it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I've been thinking about some weird stuff lately.
Yeah, totally, dude. It's really interesting, the concept of spirituality, at least for me, like, because ever since I was a little kid, like I always felt like spiritual, and like religion was not really pressed on us or anything like that, and when I hit a certain point, I like was angry at it. It was like I couldn't believe that there was anything other than this, and if it is like this loving energy or a world or whatever that knows what we're doing. Like I was so angry at the concept of that. But within the past like couple of years, just the concept of the higher self and removing everything that's not me, I feel completely different compared to I'm just a piece of meat that's walking around with electricity in my brain that tells me to go left and right. I don't know. It because I did that, and then I'm just watching things change too. I think about a lot of weird shit. But
I don't know if it is so weird. It might be weird not to think about these things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, my friend. We're going to wrap it up here, but before we do, I just want to say I love you so much. I'm so grateful.
I love you too.
You've seen me through a lot in my life, and I feel honored to know you. And it's like, you're the most talented motherfucker, dude. And that's not even your best quality at all. It's who you are. And you're an amazing guy. So thank you for being here and spending your time with me.
Thank you. And I can say the same thing right back at you, man. You've been with me through huge moments of my life where I needed love and support, and examples of an anchored love and support system that I never had. And you're just this forever growing mountain of love and talent and knowledge. I'm so blessed to have you, and thank you for bringing me on to let me talk about myself for an hour.
Hell yeah, that's what it's for. I love it because we get to like geek out on stuff we might not get away with in society, right?
Yeah,
people get bored if we talk about ourselves for an hour, but somehow in the recorded format it helps.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's because we're ready for it.
Yeah,
sometimes you're not ready for an hour of it. But I'm gonna stop us here, and then we'll say goodbye off camera.
Cool.
Are you a creative who wants to take control of your career? Are you someone who wants to be creative but doesn't know where to start? Then this course is for you. This course teaches you how to make your own film. And in my experience, that's the best way to get noticed in Hollywood. And that's the best way to control your own career, aka your life. If you want to have an enjoyable life, yet be creative and creatively fulfilled, then you're going to have to make your own projects, and you get to make them. And this course is going to teach you just how to do that. And this course is on feature films, but you can scale that down all the way to music videos or short films. And the way this course goes is I teach you in short, punchy classes, podcast style, so you can just listen and take notes. I also do Loom commentaries where I'm watching my own films and telling you exactly how I accomplished each scene. And I laugh a ton because, we're looking at 14 years of work, and there's a lot of mistakes and a lot of growth and a lot of information in there. And lastly, you get to do an AMA and Ask Me Anything with me once a week, and you'll get your questions answered. And if you're in the middle of production, I can help you with that. If you're in pre-production, I can help you with that. If you don't know what the hell's going on, I can help you with that. So again, if you're a creative who wants to take control of their life, have a good career, then this course is for you. I hope I get to see you guys in the Rebel Filmmaking Community. I had such a blast making it, and I can't wait to share everything I learned over the last 15 years. I'm Sean. Thank you guys.